would go on at least 2 cruises a year, and they were always packing their cocktail mix in their luggage.
And you have to pack it in, like mouthwash or something like that. They'll confiscate. You're not allowed to bring liquor on.
Do they actually look in your luggage?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Seems rather cheeky.
Why? It has to go through a scanner and everything.
Oh, really? I see.
Are you kidding me? Can you imagine a bomb on a boat?
I guess that's true.
I'm just saying. Boats are scary enough as is. So, let's talk a little bit about Rebecca again.
That's a good idea.
Rebecca was described as generally a happy person, a kind of a prankster, all around upbeat.
You don't have to be to work for Disney.
Well, it's interesting. There's an article we're going to reference a lot, which is the Guardian article, and the author of that went on a Wonder cruise, and he was talking to one of the guys who was re-varnishing railing, and he said, okay, so what's it like actually, though? What are you guys like actually? And he was like, no, it's not an act, which you kind of have to say.
Yeah.
But I think that the people who get hired for Disney versus other cruise lines are Disney people.
Yeah.
They're upbeat and generally
there's a certain brand of people who like working on a ship for Disney, just like there's a certain brand of people who love to work at the theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it was me, they'd have never hired me because they know I would have gone psychotic in the Goofy costume 2 days in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and if you're going to work with the public and all that, you've got to be kind of a happy person.
Yeah,
well, if you have to,
there's a natural inclination that they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's Disney specific. I mean, I got hired on a cruise ship, so anybody could, but you have to find the right one. It also sounds like she had a partner or a lover on the ship, but we'll kind of get to that later.
Yeah, I question some of that, but
I do too. Yeah. On to the story.
Okay.
On March 21st, 2011, the Wonder pulled out of the LA harbor, heading on a normal voyage down to the Mexican Riviera. Rebecca sent a Facebook message to her parents saying she was planning to call the next day. Later that night, Rebecca was hanging out with one of her friends in the crew area, and she referred to it as a secret corridor, and we'll talk about that later too. That Guardian article, the author actually spoke with that friend that Rebecca was hanging out with, and he called her Melissa, which I don't think is her real name, but we're going to use Melissa because that's the only name I have for her.
There we go.
And she said they were hanging out in this secret corridor, which really just means an unmonitored crew hall, which there are some. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Melissa reports that Rebecca had been trying to peel her fake eyelashes off. Seemed vaguely like the sort of thing that she would do when she was drunk. That's sort of like drunk person
peeling
behavior.
off Melissa's fake
eyelashes. Yeah. But she had just gotten off work, so I don't think she was drunk. Drunk.
We'll
talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to break up this story too much.
Okay.
So we'll circle back around to that.
I would think there'd be nothing else to do.
Again, we'll circle back.
Okay.
Yeah. Melissa says that Rebecca asked her if she was going to go to the crew bar tonight, or that night, I guess. And Melissa said she would, but ended up not doing so. And then I haven't been able to find the CCTV footage of this next part, so please keep that in mind. But apparently at 5:45 a.m., Rebecca was on one of the internal phones with someone, and reports are that she seemed kind of distraught. And she hangs up the phone, and another crew member walks up to her and appears to ask if she's okay. This is CCTV, so there's no sound.
There's no audio, right?
And I have seen actually stills from this footage, and I really can't see how they can even recognize whether it's Rebecca, much less whether she's distraught or not, because it's so fuzzy, it's so low res.
Well, it's hard to tell if it's, with the low res stuff, sometimes it's easier to actually tell what's going on when it is moving than it is from screen caps.
Probably.
And then again, I don't know, since I haven't seen the footage, I don't know if it's actual screen caps or somebody took, a picture with a crappy phone or what.
Yeah, I've seen this.
I've seen that's the only thing.
Yeah, we've all seen probably the same 2 or 3 images, and they are extremely hard to tell what's going on. So I question it too. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Well, so apparently she seems distraught, and then the fellow crew member walks up to her and says, "Are you okay?" And she appears to respond, "Yeah, fine." And people report this is a clear lip reading. There's reports that the phone call was recorded, but I'm not sure if that's true or not.
That's what I heard. That's kind of creepy that they're recording everybody's internal phone calls.
That's a massive amount of data.
Mm-hmm.
Could you think about the massive amount of data?
Well, that's why I'm not so sure.
All of that would be Yeah, that's why I don't
Just
agree
all
with
the
it.
all the camera footage.
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
I think it's likely that they have phone records. I mean,
of course, yeah.
I think that Disney's telling the truth when they say that they know who the call was between, but I don't think they know what was said. That's
Yeah.
silly.
I'd agree with that. Okay.
Anyway, Rebecca walks down the hall. She's seen, quote, pushing her hair back and putting her hands in her back pockets, unquote, which is apparently typical behavior for her,
According to her parents.
according to her parents and her friends. And then that's the last time anybody's ever seen her.
At least officially.
Officially. Rebecca was scheduled to start a shift at 9 a.m. on March 22nd, but when she failed to show up, they obviously raised the alarm and paged her and checked her room and searched the ship and nothing. And this is very important to note because you will see this overlooked in almost everything. It's very important to know that the night of the 21st to the 22nd was a sea day. And what that means, for those of you who don't know what that is that the ship did not port at all. It left LA, and between the time that it left LA and the time that Rebecca disappeared,
It was underway.
it was in the middle of the sea the entire time.
Yeah, out of sight of land, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they never go so far that it's insane. Well, I mean, sometimes they do, but on these routes, they're pretty close to the sea, but you don't
The
see
land?
it. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
pretty
but-
close to the land, but you don't see it.
They're always close to the sea.
Yeah, pretty dang close, in fact, yeah. So that's very important for a lot of reasons, but I'm just going to keep mentioning that. And they did search the entire ship before they made port.
Okay.
Very important.
Okay.
Cool. There was an early report that a fellow crew member said that they had seen Rebecca go overboard at 3 a.m. Obviously, with the discovery of the CCTV footage, that is incorrect. And also, I will just go ahead and state that if you see someone go overboard, you call a code.
You
That's
don't
what
just
you do.
ignore it and go to bed.
You don't just ignore it and go to bed. You notify the bridge. And if you don't, actually for somebody to come forward and say, yeah, I saw somebody go overboard at 3 a.m., but I didn't notify anyone and didn't try to render help, could be a terminable offense.
If not having charges
Yeah.
levied against you.
Yeah, because you
Oh,
are
yeah.
responsible for their death, basically. Not entirely, but basically. So, I think that that's been added to the story, if I'm honest, but that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, you would think you would not admit that at least.
Yeah. The Wonder and the crew of the Wonder did report, they called it in, they let the Coast Guard know. They let the Navy know, the Mexican Navy know. They let pretty much everybody in the area know.
That a crew member lost at sea.
We're missing a crew member. We don't really know when we lost this crew member, but please can you help us look for her? So the U.S. Coast Guard and the Mexican Navy did search the international waters that the Wonder was sailing through in the time that they thought she might have gone overboard. I think they first they were thinking maybe it was 3 a.m. and then they found the CCTV footage and then they thought, okay, so in between probably 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. she went overboard. And I think they probably used some deductive reasoning and thinking probably it was before daylight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, by that.
It is reported that the seas were rough at that time, so it's pretty unlikely that she would have just been, floating there, waiting for somebody to come find her.
In a calm spot of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But I heard that night that she went overboard, if she did indeed go overboard, it was kind of rough seas, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is, it was rough seas, so it would be unlikely without any kind of flotation device or anything like that. It'd be hard. I think, if she went overboard, she would have been lost.
Well,
Yeah.
and the difficulty is not knowing exactly when and where she could have gone in the water. Because I actually tried to track down the conditions of the sea at that time, but what I kept running into is that it's location based, and then when you get farther out, it was really kind of tough. So
Hard, yeah.
I could never say, oh yeah, no, there was this giant storm. I couldn't find any of that
Yeah.
easily.
But I also don't know why Disney would lie about that, and we'll talk about this in the theories a lot more.
Oh, there's going to be a whole bunch of theories of finger pointing,
Yeah.
of lying Disney.
Yeah, I assume that the security on the ship did a preliminary investigation. However, since the Wonder, like almost every ship that does any circuit kind of around America, is registered in Nassau in the Bahamas, the incident happened, and the incident did happen in international waters. It fell to the Royal Bahamian Police Force to investigate. One officer was assigned to this case, which does seem slim, I will agree with that.
The only
Well-
one missing person, I can see why they would do that.
And,
Yeah,
then-
I mean, it's the fact that it's a big ship.
I totally understand.
And he only arrived after the ship ported back in LA, so I think that would have been like 4 days later after she disappeared. And he only spent a day on the ship. Rebecca's parents, Mike and Anna Maria, were notified on the 22nd that Rebecca had gone missing. They were in England, so it was very nighttime for them. They were about to go to bed. They had been already worried anyway because, they didn't hear from her that day.
That's right.
They were
she was
expecting
going
a
to call.
call. Yeah. They flew out to LA and met the ship in LA also on the Friday after Rebecca went missing. They claimed they were kept in a car with darkly tinted windows while the passengers disembarked. Then they were taken to meet the captain, who offered condolences and told him that he thought Rebecca had gone overboard. Her parents were then taken to a meeting with some Disney executives and the woman that had reportedly been on the phone with Rebecca at 5:45 a.m.
In the CCTV footage.
Yeah.
I know I just
Yeah.
hacked all those letters up.
That's okay. It was rumored to have been a mutual friend of Rebecca and this mysterious partner, or maybe the partner, but I think it was a mutual friend. And now, this is a shame, but Mike and Anna Maria didn't get to ask a lot of questions in that meeting because they were very jet lagged. They hadn't slept since Monday night, right? They slept Monday night. They woke up Tuesday morning,
evening.
and they hadn't slept the entire time. They'd just flown in from England, and frankly, they thought they were going to get to talk to this group again, which it turned out, no, they weren't. They also have expressed that they really wanted to talk to the passengers on the ship, and now
That's a lot of people to talk to.
It's a lot of people to talk to. It confuses me a lot. The Wonder is approximately the same size as the ship that I was on. That means that there would have been probably, assuming that it was even, partially full.
Round figure.
It was probably like 2,400 guests and 900 crew. So the likelihood of just randomly finding a passenger who interacted with your daughter, who works on the ship, who was frankly only on the ship for a couple of hours while you would have maybe interacted with her, seems slim.
Well, yeah, and they could do something like before they disembark, put out something on the PA system so everybody can hear it. Say, hey, one of our crew members disappeared. Please come look at a photograph of her. But they like to make it a happy thing. They don't want to actually be putting stuff like that out.
I was going to say, I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to defend Disney. I'm going to sound like I'm defending Disney in this several times. But they're not going to do that because what do they want their guests to do? They want their guests to have a great time and spend a bunch of money and come back and do it again.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to everything is insular. You keep the parents here, you keep the crew here, you keep the guests over there, and never shall they mix.
Well, and frankly,
and it's too big of a pool of people.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the thing that Disney probably thought, which is what I think, is that there's no reason. There's no reason for any of these passengers to speak with distraught parents.
Yeah.
There's just not.
That would take days.
And frankly, you don't really... you probably don't want the passengers to know that somebody disappeared from their cruise.
Probably not, yeah. And
that's not something you want passengers to know.
There's good reason that cruise lines keep that kind of information kind of buttoned up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and actually not that many people disappear off cruise ships every year, but...
We'll talk about this in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rebecca's parents were... after they had this kind of short meeting, they were taken to her room and given her things. One of the items they were given was either a pair or one slipper or flip-flop. I'm not quite clear on which one.
Yeah.
It was pink and flowery.
I usually hear it as flip-flop, but I've seen the slipper one too.
Singular.
Yeah, one. This slipper/flip-flop had been found the morning of the 22nd near the crew pool.
Up in the bow of the ship.
It's on deck 5 in the bow of the ship. It's pretty typical of cruise lines to have a crew pool, have crew-specific areas. As we were talking about, I would say that like 85% of the crew, well, probably more like 60% of the crew, is not allowed in passenger areas at all. And then on top of that, only like 5% max, probably more like 2% of the crew are allowed to socialize in passenger areas. That means passenger bars, passenger pools, passenger restaurants, anything like that.
So would that 60% you're talking about be people who are working like laundry services or engine maintenance or those kind of, I know these are very broad categories,
Yes.
but those
Yeah.
sort of things that guests have no reason to know you exist for. Okay.
Yeah, and there are a lot of ways to get around to every area of a ship. I mean, it's even things like the maintenance people. You're allowed to be in a very specific passenger area to perform your maintenance task, and then you have to use the nearest crew door and get back into crew quarters and crew area to get to your next spot. You
disappear.
can't walk through passenger, hallways or anything like that.
So there's this whole underground thing.
It's huge.
It's all
Oh, yeah.
secret. Yeah.
It is. And it's all over the place, and it's really well hidden throughout a ship. If you've been on a cruise ship, you probably were walking right parallel to crew members and you didn't even know it. But, you want to keep your crew happy. I mean, they're stuck in this tin can.
Well, they get their own bar and their own swimming pool.
We would get our own bar, you get your own swimming pool, you get your own lounge area, you get your own mess hall. I wouldn't call it a restaurant. I wouldn't say it's necessarily very nice, but you do get your own mess hall with weights and workout equipment and stuff like that. I mean, it's crummier versions of all the stuff that passengers have, but you get all the stuff that passengers have. And it's a good use of that bow space that, like, what else are you going to put out there? You definitely don't want passengers on the bow of the ship.
No, that's definitely
So-
the roughest place to be on the ship.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, that's a good point to make, is that it's pretty much the roughest, most dangerous area of a ship.
It
Which
gets
is why you
gets
don't-
the most up and down action.
It does, yeah.
And you can see photos of that, by the way. You can see
Yeah.
that crew pool
I would-
in photos.
I
There
would
are.
encourage you to look at those pictures, and you can find pictures specifically with crew members, like when, any of the ships are going out of port or anything like that. You can see there's crew standing there, so you can really get a scope of what the size of everything looks like. Because it's hard to tell when it's just a picture of the bow from land. It's almost impossible to tell what's going on.
Did you guys see the Minecraft version of this ship?
No.
Oh, it's really cool. I don't know how to play Minecraft, so I didn't do anything, but evidently you can download. She was on this is the Dream, is that correct?
Wonder.
Wonder, thank you. Somebody built the Wonder in Minecraft. I was like, holy crap, and I watched a quick fly through. It's really interesting.
Wow.
People have way too much time on their hands, like people like us who record podcasts.
I don't know.
Time.
What do you do with this thing?
I don't know. I don't know how Minecraft works. Please, nobody send me an email on how Minecraft works. I just haven't looked it up.
Yeah.
We do know how to Google, I promise.
Yeah, I think so.
And there's also some mystery about the slipper flip-flop thing, because there's been some speculation that it wasn't actually Rebecca's.
Could have been left there by anybody,
It
really.
could have. That's true.
Anybody on the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone on the crew. That's the end of the story, and that's the end of the investigation. The only other things really are that about 2 weeks after Rebecca's disappearance, her family got an email from a bank that said that there had been some activity on one of her accounts in the last few weeks. This gave the family hope that Rebecca was alive, but I think it was a bit misplaced. And apparently they had not previously been aware of this account. They were eventually able to find the paperwork in Rebecca's things that she had opened this account, but they didn't find her cards.
Yeah, it was just a regular credit card. It wasn't a bank card.
Yeah, I think she probably got it in America.
Yeah, probably in her training time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that gave the family some hope that she was alive. But again, all this stuff we'll talk about in a minute. And then after that, in that September, Rebecca's uncle,
Of 2011.
of 2011, found that someone had changed the password on Rebecca's Facebook. And I think they had been maintaining it, the family had been maintaining it just to, if somebody was trying to contact her, or maybe she was trying to contact her, her
It's an
family or
easy
anything like
thing
that.
to keep an eye on and
It
have
is.
the access to.
And also to maintain as a memorial.
Right,
And
'cause they-
Facebook now will turn pages into memorials, and that changes the way that they work a little bit. But apparently somebody logged in and changed the password, which again gave the family a little hope that she was alive. And then on March 21st, 2012, a woman emailed the family claiming to have seen Rebecca in Venice. She said she was 85% sure it was her. But Rebecca's passport had been in her belongings, so she would have had to find a different way into Europe.
That's easy. You just go to Libya and hire a smuggler to take you across the Mediterranean. It's
That's
safe.
safe, yeah.
It's cheap. It's
Safe as a
easy.
young white woman, you're
And
right.
getting from Los Angeles to Libya is super easy.
Really,
Oh,
you just
yeah.
swim, I think. Yeah.
It would be an adventure.
Yeah. Let's circle back around and talk about just a couple things real quick here.
We've got the CCTV.
CCTV.
I cannot say that stupid acronym. Closed
can't.
circuit television.
Yeah. So there is closed circuit television or CCTV.